Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Hong Kong and Singapore tackle suspected ramp and dump syndicate. 5 children in Australia are killed when strong winds hurled their jumping castle into the air. And a super typhoon lashes the Philippines, sparking fears of widespread floods. Hong Kong and Singaporean authorities have joined forces to crack down on a money laundering syndicate accused of pushing up stock prices before selling them. 6 management staff were among 10 people arrested. Johanna Chan reports.
The Securities and Futures Commission enlisted the help of Hong Kong and Singaporean police after finding that 3 listed companies had engaged in ramp and dump tactics between December and August. They arrested 9 people, including senior company executives. They allegedly managed to push up the value of the firm's shares by 2 to 6 times by offering tips on social media platforms and even dating sites from people pretending to be experts. Victims who made a small profit were persuaded to invest more. When the stock price skyrocketed, syndicate members allegedly sold their shares and transferred the money to their bank accounts and then to shell companies and overseas accounts. Profits amounted to over $176 million. SFC and police officers yesterday raided 47 premises, including homes in Happy Valley, Wan Chai, and Pok Fu Lam, and offices in Kwun Tong and Tuen Mun. 8 men and 1 woman aged between 25 and 62 were arrested for money laundering and were remanded. Police froze $48.5 million in bank accounts and confiscated $2 million worth of cash and items. Singapore's Monetary Authority and law enforcement arrested a woman for fraud and froze $25 million.
The police freeze money. We restrict securities and accounts with the hope that if someone's convicted of something like that, they'll have to take that money and victims can be paid back. But you know, I think in the long run, if you're going to take your advice off social media, I'm telling you, you're going to lose your money, and it's very difficult for us to get it back.
The SFC said the court process will take years. Celebrity chef Wong Wing-chi was arrested yesterday for alleged investment scams involving the Dragon King Group, of which he's the chief executive. Authorities did not confirm whether he was part of the case. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
2 people have become the first to be charged under a new law that makes it illegal to urge others to boycott elections or cast blank votes. Both of them shared a controversial post from a former lawmaker who fled the city. Isaac Lee reports.
The ICAC has accused salesman Chang Kin-man and office assistant Leung Yut-shun of inciting others not to vote or to cast a blank ballot in the Legislative Council elections on Sunday. They allegedly shared a social media post in which former lawmaker Ted Hui, who fled to Australia, urged Hong Kongers to resist the reformed electoral system. Chang and Leung were granted bail and will appear in court on Tuesday. Legal experts issued a warning.
If you were to share a post with the intention of causing damage to the election system, then you would have committed the crime. But the intention is easy to infer. If you don't have any intention to cause any disruption, then there is no reason why you should pass on such a message at all.
Tong, who's also an executive councillor, said the 2 suspects may have even breached the national security law.
If you simply copy or pass on a message posted from overseas, you will have no idea whether that person, in fact, was posting with the direction of a foreign political power or with the assistance of a foreign political power. By assisting the spreading of that message in Hong Kong, then you would be helping the commission of an offence under the national security law and therefore would be guilty of the same offence.
Tong added that giving a like to similar posts or discussing whether to cast a blank vote or boycott an election also run the risk of breaking the law. But the court will decide on the person's intention. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
The hospital authority has introduced incentives in a bid to retain staff. These include a property loan scheme with interest at around 1%. The amount granted will be capped at 48 times a worker's monthly salary. The authority also promised to open up more senior positions for medics and will set up an academy to train specialist doctors. The sweeteners came after just over 6% of public hospital doctors resigned this year. Hong Kong's job market has improved for the 9th straight month. November's unemployment rate stood at 4.1%, down 0.2 of a percentage point from October. That means 13,800 people found a job last month. Over an 11-month period, the number of unemployed dropped by more than 100,000 to 158,000. Construction and tourism-related sectors were the biggest winners, improving by 0.6 to 0.8%. A government spokesman suggested the consumption voucher scheme boosted consumer sentiment and spending in the retail, accommodation, and food and beverage industries. Working from home has become the new normal because of the pandemic, but experts have warned that unless extra precautions are taken, hackers would target computers and losses could be heavy. Here's Isaac Lee.
The internet is vital in this technology-driven era. Although hacking incidents have prompted users to be alert, that has made unscrupulous parties more creative in picking their targets. Police said there were more than 13,000 tech-related crimes as of October this year, up 24% from the same period last year. Experts warned cybercrimes have evolved. The most common are website server disruptions and ransomware, which requires victims to fork out a large sum in order to recover data seized by hackers. All hardware, software, and websites are potential targets of hackers, and the pandemic has worsened the situation.
We do see that COVID-19 impacted our life. It moved us more online. It means that applications become more public-facing. It means that applications are more centric, but it also means that applications are more vulnerable. And the attackers know that. So they are using a lot of techniques in order to take us down.
Hoffman urged individuals and corporations to strengthen precautionary measures.
Don't think it will not happen to you. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when.
Users can protect themselves better by setting up long and complex passwords with both numbers and letters. And they should never open suspicious links in emails. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
A woman who stole a cat has been sentenced to a month and a half in jail for theft and perverting the course of justice. Li Yut-ha was driven to West Kowloon Magistracy in a correctional services vehicle. The court heard that the 49-year-old stole a cat from under a car in Sham Shui Po in January this year. She asked the owner to drop the case 2 days later. In mitigation, Li admitted wrongdoing. Judge Veronica Yeung said although Li told the cat owner not to call police, she did not threaten her. Yeung added a short sentence was deterrent enough for the woman. Overseas, Australia is in mourning after 5 primary school children were killed in a horrific incident in the southern state of Tasmania. They were playing in a jumping castle when it was picked up by strong winds and hurled into the air.
On a day when school children were celebrating at the end of term so close to Christmas, it's simply inconceivable that this shocking incident has occurred. We stand ready to provide whatever support we can to the families directly impacted, the students, staff and the broader community, and importantly also to our emergency services and our first responders, who I know have also been affected very deeply.
4 other children remained in critical condition in hospital. Hillcrest Primary School in Devonport was marking its end-of-year big day and had organized a series of activities, including games and dancing. The victims, aged 10 or 11, were playing in the jumping castle when it was thrown 10 meters into the air by a strong gust of wind. A super typhoon is battering the central Philippines, triggering fears of floods and landslides. Gale force winds hammered Siargao Island, where the storm named Rai made landfall this afternoon. There were no immediate reports of casualties or major damage, but military and Coast Guard rescue personnel were helping residents stranded by fast rising waters. The storm is expected to sweep across the central Philippines before moving into the South China Sea. At least 100,000 people have been evacuated to safety, and many are taking shelter in schools. Rai could be closest to Hong Kong on Tuesday, when it's likely to weaken into a tropical depression. And coming up after the break, people in Britain rush for COVID jabs as infections reach a record high.